RaisorBlade, there you are. What the? No, you get out. No, you get the hell out of here, DreamWorks. Oh, come on. I got a new movie for you to watch. You put me through 8 seasons of hell. Oh, come on. Technically, you put yourself through that. I never made you watch the show. Oh, okay. Well, I guess we should use that mentality on the Japanese when they got nuked at Hiroshima. I guess they put themselves through that, didn't they? Wow. It's actually kind of fucked that you're comparing a literal war crime to a TV show. Yeah? Well, that's what the Nine Realms felt like. A war crime. Oh, come on. I'm still capable of making great things. You liked Puss in Boots: The Last Wish, didn't you? Well, yeah, but I didn't like Ruby Gillman. How are you recovering from that, by the way?
Megamind is back.
I'm kind of a big deal.
And you're welcome.
You're all so lucky to have me as your hero.
Wow.
You really shouldn't have!
Okay, dude, you seriously need therapy or something. Look, will you just watch Orion in the Dark already? God, fine, I'll watch your damn Dark movie. God, can't even make a real Megamind sequel these days. How is this gonna be any good?
2 hours later.
Well, I liked it. Yay! But the Geneva Convention is still coming for your ass. Aww. So DreamWorks released a new movie on Netflix that I don't think many people know all too much about. It didn't receive a lot of attention, and just like with Ruby Gillman, had little to no marketing upon its release. Seriously, DreamWorks, what are you doing? You know, if you want your movies to be successful, you have to actually let people know that you're releasing a movie. This is basic filmmaking 101. If you wish to continue making movies, then you need to make money from those movies. Unless you're totally cool with just making these half-assed TV shows with animation so cheap looking that I'm starting to think Video Brinquedo is looking at a comeback real soon. And on top of that, this movie was released straight to Netflix instead of theaters because, well, I guess DreamWorks was just that afraid of having another Ruby Gillman situation, so they opted for the safe route of going straight to streaming. Gee, if only you guys marketed your film, then maybe you wouldn't be in this mess in the first place. Some of you may know this, but I wasn't the biggest fan of Ruby Gillman. It was incredibly generic and forgettable, and honestly, this is the first time I've even thought about that movie since the video I made on it last year. But with that being said, it sucks that it failed so hard. I really do feel bad for everyone who worked on it and wanted it to be good. And even worse, because of that movie's failure, some of those people might have actually lost their jobs when they tried their hardest to make the project look good. That really sucks. So to see DreamWorks Animation in this rough patch right now is pretty disheartening. Cheap looking TV spin-offs like Dragons of the Nine Realms and this new Megamind show, and now their movies are just showing up with little to no fanfare. And it's a damn shame because Orion in the Dark is a good movie at the end of the day. I mean, okay, it's not one of their greats. It's not gonna build up the same reputation as stuff like How to Train Your Dragon or Kung Fu Panda or anything. It's just a good movie, which hopefully means that people will check it out and it becomes a success on Netflix so that DreamWorks can get out of this funk that it's in and stop laying off their workers when they forget to market their own movies. Especially when you have Charlie Kaufman writing your screenplay. Yeah, that Charlie Kaufman. The same guy who directed Anomalisa, one of my all-time favorite animated movies. The movie that was the first ever R-rated animated film to be nominated for Best Animated Feature. If that means anything to you, but still, Anomalisa is brilliant, and it definitely deserved the Oscar that year. Sorry, Inside Out, but it's true. So Orion in the Dark is about a boy by the name of Orion, who's afraid of pretty much everything. From small things like bugs, clogging the toilet, and getting questions wrong in class, to more relatable things such as the school bully and not being able to talk to your crush. But what he's afraid of most of all is the dark, and it becomes so apparent that he's afraid of the dark that Dark itself shows up into his room to try and convince him he's not so bad. Along the journey, he meets up with the other Keepers of the Night and learns about how nighttime works. And of course, you can see where this is going. He's gonna learn that the dark isn't something to be afraid of. He's gonna learn to confront his fears even though he's afraid all the time. He's gonna see that Dark has serious self-esteem issues and convince the other Keepers to quit their jobs because light sounds better, and Dark starts to hate himself, and okay, this is not the direction I thought this movie was gonna go in. As expected with Kaufman, the overall lesson doesn't just stop at fear, but rather self-worth, existence, purpose, and overall whether what we're doing is even worth it in the end. Dark is easily one of the more sympathetic characters, as all he wants people to do is appreciate him for who he is and what he does. He gets a bad rep despite him being an nice guy. It's kind of like Wreck-It Ralph, only instead of being a video game villain, it's literal darkness itself. It makes perfect sense why people in general wouldn't like him. Even the other keepers don't seem to really appreciate him all that much, since their jobs actually require them to do stuff, while all Dark has to do is exist. He's forced to follow them around on their jobs because otherwise he would literally disappear because of light, which follows them in the daily cycle. And then when he brings this kid along with him in an effort to boost his own confidence, the kid accidentally makes things worse at every turn thanks to his own fears. It's a really interesting dynamic between Orion and Dark, in which one had very selfish reasons for doing what he did, while the other just wants to go home. Sure, they become friends later down the line, and sure, he's been honest about it to an extent, but deep down, this was never about helping Orion with his fears, but rather instead, it was about overcoming his own. And I think that's really fascinating. That's a really cool, fun, and kind of sad relationship that these two have that you normally wouldn't see in a kid's film. I like it. I also like all the other keepers in the night. They're a lot of fun and have these really cool designs that fit their job descriptions perfectly. Dreams is this corporeal-like creature, Quiet is literally just a mouse, Insomnia is a fly. This is a lot of fun. The movie's animation has this kind of mix between the Mitchells versus the Machines and a Jim Henson production. Even the way the film is framed most of the time, it really seems like they're going for that Muppet-like aesthetic. Sleep herself is literally just a Muppet. I mean, just look at her. She looks like she has Kermit on speed dial. Which reminds me, we now canonically have a person being chloroformed in a DreamWorks movie, and I think that's great. We also have another cat character using swear words in this movie. I guess DreamWorks did learn something from The Last Wish after all.
You're the best mommy ever!
That was one hell of a presentation, Irene.
Watch your profanity.
Honestly, I really wasn't expecting this movie to be this bold with its screenplay. From the tackling of themes of existentialism, to its great animation and character design, to the storytelling device of Orion being a fully grown adult and telling his daughter this story. Yeah, that's where the movie loses me, honestly. Not that it's a bad idea on paper, but this is where the movie just gets lost in translation, especially in the final act. Without spoiling too much, let's just say these sequences with the daughter feel less like a kid asking questions about the story and more like a movie critic offering suggestions to make the plot better, which honestly gets old pretty quickly. It really feels like a huge chunk of this film was defined by modern YouTube critics, and that the daughter's always like, oh, get rid of that makes no sense, use this instead, that's way better. It just feels like they're trying to be self-aware with how bizarre this plot is, which honestly kind of undermines it, I think, in this case. Sure, it's a weird concept, but we've had weird concepts from DreamWorks before without them feeling the need to point it out. Again, the idea of an older Orion telling his daughter this story is cool, but it ends up bringing the pacing of this story to a complete halt. Especially in the final act, when the movie just ditches that idea entirely and then never brings it up again. And without spoiling how the movie ends, it just leaves you wondering if the story was ever even real or just a bedtime story, and not in a good way. I'm down with the movie being ambiguous and not wanting to reveal the truth and leaving it up to the audience to decide, but this ending just feels more like a bait and switch. Like, it's constantly implying that this is just a story and it didn't actually happen, but then they just changed that attitude on a dime and turns out it might have been real the whole time. It's confusing. It really loses that momentum whenever we switch back and forth, and it just makes the ending feel so out of nowhere and random, like in a real clunky way. It's a sloppy finish that just leaves you feeling disappointed. Because, man, the rest of the movie is really good. When it's just Orion, Dark, and the other keepers dealing with their purposes in life and who they are and why they're here, it's really fascinating and cool to see. So to see it just lose focus on that in the end with the daughter just really left me feeling confused and a bit bitter in the end. But hey, 7 out of 10 still pretty good. At least I'll remember this movie, unlike Ruby Gillman. So, like I said in the beginning, it's a good movie overall. It has some brilliant stuff that's sadly undercut by its pacing and the ending, but you can tell there was something there. I think this movie really needed just one more look over in the writer's room to really be on another level for DreamWorks, to really confirm that DreamWorks Animation is really going through a renaissance of its own following The Last Wish and ignoring Ruby Gillman. But, as it is, it's just a good movie. I liked it. I wish I loved it. I loved parts of it, but in the end, I only ended up liking it as a whole. Which, you know, maybe that's good enough. It's got a great style that pays homage to Jim Henson and 2D animation. The characters are great. It's not hilarious, but I did laugh quite a bit at it. I really do hope this movie is successful. DreamWorks in its current state is not in a good place right now. And I really hope this company does make its money back so they can actually start putting that money into their TV shows again. The Nine Realms and the Megamind series that's coming soon should have had that Troll Hunters animation from the beginning. Not whatever this is.
What is that? What the fuck is that?
So, yeah, good movie. Definitely check it out if you have the time, because this is one movie you don't want to be left in the dark over. Get it? Because dark? A character's name is Dark, and that was the joke I'm making here. See, it's funny because...
Feel me fully fed.